C'est fait.
Je sais. Mais dites-moi, vous avez été arrêté cette nuit?
Aucune importance.
Parfait. Chose promise.
Mabel, what's troubling you?
What trouble?
Well, you said you were upset. Did you and Nick have a fight?
Nick, I get the idea there's some kind of a conspiracy going on here. I mean, you've been looking at me so quiet-like, and, he's got something in that bag.
Don't be concerned about this bag.
Yeah, he's going to try to imprison
Mabel.
me with something in that bag.
Don't be concerned about this bag.
Am I right?
Don't be concerned
Am
about
I right,
this
Nick?
bag.
Am I right, Nick? Am I right, Nick?
Chris Scouser here with
Matt Howell.
On this episode of The First Run, Matt and I, we're bringing back the double feature just for you. Specifically you. Enter your name here. First up, it's the reboot of the middlingly popular Crow franchise with The Crow. One of the Skarsgård kids plays Eric Draven this time, also featuring pop music star FKA Twigs as Shelly. Director of the original film, Alex Proyas, Matt, having a blast with the film's poor reviews. I don't know if you've seen that on the interwebs. Do these stuck-up critics, Matt, have it all wrong again? We'll see. Then there's a subversive viral hit that is Strange Darling. It's a serial killer movie that keeps the audience guessing. Are the final answers worth the effort? There's the goth-focused rundown of the big releases on physical media featuring your Viper video and streaming picks of the week. And then Matt and I are going to close out the show with, I guess, the 5 worst rebates? Rebates?
Feel like you had something on your mind there. That was dangerously close to being off color, Chris.
No, I had rebates stuck. And what it is as I'm talking, there's something stuck in my teeth. I just realized, and it's throwing me off. It's focusing my language. 5 worst reboots. How does that sound? That
Wonderful.
we are desperate to forget. That's called foreshadowing, kids. Let's go ahead and hear a clip from The Crow. Listen, I got a short turnaround on this episode, so you're just going to have to enjoy this.
What's the first thing you liked about me?
I thought that you were quite brilliantly broken.
You feel like my person.
You feel like my person.
What's the worst thing you've ever done?
I saw things. I shouldn't have seen any of it.
Shelly! Shelly! Please don't do this!
Oh, it doesn't sound good. Matt, what is The Crow 2024 all about?
Well, a young woman named Shelly sees something that she shouldn't, and there's a video going around that shows that she saw something that she shouldn't. So in order to try and keep herself safe, she gets herself checked into a high security drug rehab center where she meets up with a tortured young man named Eric. They fall quickly in love, escape from the rehab center, and they are promptly hunted down by the bad guys and killed. When they go to the underworld, Eric is given the powers to right wrongs against those who did he and Shelly harm.
So I didn't know this until researching. I never read the original comic books that this was based on. My only experience of this, probably this entire franchise, is the Brandon Lee film. And I actually started watching it again last night. I recently got the 4K.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever owned this on physical media. And I'm about halfway through it right now. I eventually just had to go to bed. It was like almost midnight. And it's okay.
Yeah. I think the love for the original is basically threefold. It is, obviously, it's Brandon Lee's film and the kind of tragedy that surrounded that and how they were going to release it. So I think it gets a lot of slack from that perspective. It has a definite kind of very of its time grungy, gothy vibe, which connected with a lot of people. And the soundtrack with a lot of gothy and industrial acts, if you were into that kind of thing, is pretty banging.
But I didn't realize while I was researching that James Abar, the character came out of a fact, I guess he was out one night drinking and asked, or out partying, whatever, and asked his girlfriend to come pick him up. And she was killed by a drunk driver.
Right.
And this kind of was him kind of processing that grief, was coming up with this story. So I think that's very deep. That's very unsettling. And I guess for me, it shows you kind of the power of art. And then we have this film that some people are saying is one of the worst films they've ever seen. Worst film of the year. I'll say this. No. I mean, it's not offensively bad.
No.
And I think part of it is I am still thinking about that 90s focused trailer.
Right.
Right, and I remember watching that thinking like, oh no, this is gonna be bad. It has not colored me walking into this. I think this film has a lot of other problems, independent on I think what my expectations were from that trailer that was just horrible, Matt. So, but what are your thoughts on The Crow? I guess the basic, take out the marketing, or I should say the capitalist version of, or at least the capitalist theory of the creation of this film and trying to reignite a new franchise. Is there enough just here to kind of even justify its own existence? Or do you agree, though, that it is one of the worst films of the year, if not the worst thing you've seen?
I don't know. I feel like we've seen something worse. I think we have given an F to something this year. I'm drawing a blank, but there was something that I was pretty offensively bad.
I'll look through the book here, and you keep going.
Okay. So I think the biggest sin of this thing is I don't really buy any of it, right? So I don't buy the supposed love story between Shelly and Eric. I don't really buy the kind of tragic event that is supposed to be so horrendous that just demands justice through supernatural means compared to, some of the stuff from the comic and the original. And honestly, it doesn't focus on the stuff that's cool about The Crow, right? It gives you too much time of the backstory of the love between these two people. It gives you way too much explanation as to what's going on, like taking away all sense of mystery around it, which I think is to a huge detriment to the film. And I think some actors like Danny Houston and the Skarsgård, they do their best. But mostly everybody in this is completely inert. They're just completely wooden and rote, and it's just boring. When you add all that stuff up together, it's not great. I will say, though, I was not expecting the amounts of creative violence in there, so I did appreciate that.
Yeah, it's funny, too. I noted that, I should say. The opera fight where Skarsgård goes all like zombie John Wick is interesting, but it also feels like it's forced in. We need to max out a body count here, and because I'm sure the audience may be falling asleep, so we got to wake everybody up. We got to shake them out of that. So we get this, 10 minutes of carnage, which I appreciated, but then, like most of the film, it doesn't make sense. You're telling me there's this wholesale slaughter of all these security guards. Nobody in the opera house is none the wiser of these repeated gun. I guess it's a movie. You got to let some things go. I mean, the guy's back from the dead, Chris. You're going to give me a problem with the fact that nobody's going to hear this gigantic, like I said, John Wick style fight through the. I don't know, but it's just a symptom of the implausibility of everything in the film. It takes painful amounts of time to, like Matt said, foster this relationship between Eric and Shelly, but it also feels very truncated. Like I had no sense of time in this film. Does the first half, does this movie take place, Matt, over like a week? Is it a year?
Right.
Is it a couple days? Like I have no sense of that from the film in any capacity. And it also takes him over 2/3 of the film to fully become the Crow guy, right? Before he puts there's a little makeup stuff. And even then, it's not a full, white makeup with the black highlights. I don't know how else you would describe it. So that's a little disappointing. And also, too, Danny Houston. I can't think of a guy who his family lineage obviously is legendary. That's fine. But like, if I think of all these different films that he's been in, and it seems like he's trapped in this C-D level villain in like so many, Matt, of these movies, right? I was thinking of like, man, what's the vampire one?
30 Days of Night.
Yeah, that, not great. Right, Marlowe, not great. Angel Has Fallen, not great. Wonder Woman, not great. Right, he seems to be in all these movies where he's just not very good, not very good. So, one of my favorites, X-Men Origins Wolverine, where he plays William Stryker, right? It's just these underwhelming bad guy in all these really just truly horrible films. So, I don't know. It's one thing I thought about too watching this film is screaming out for Shartlow Copley. I don't know what it is about it, but it just feels like if we could have cast him in some capacity, maybe as the dead guy who kind of guides Eric, the Kronos, right? The spirit who guides him through anything. I think that may have been better. Or, hell, make him the Crow. I don't know. Or the bad guy.
Yeah.
But
like the henchman, like the muscle, right? That actually goes out and does this stuff kind of thing.
Yeah, because everybody's kind of so nondescript. And all this too, everybody's really old, which is weird. Like, all the bad guys, for the most part, are like in their 60s.
Right.
And maybe it's an issue. Maybe I want Sharlto too, because I want it to lean more into its pulp roots than it does.
Right.
I want it to be more lean. I want it to be more mean and violent. And I don't know, instead of just these long stretches of just kind of nondescript violence and just blank stare performances. Like FKA Twigs, in the very beginning, I think she does kind of come a little bit around as the film progresses, but those opening shots with her, I'm like, oh God, what is this film going to be? But I don't know, just the whole construction of it. It's just the script, everything is like less than ideal, is how I would describe it. It's just
less than ideal. I like that.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan. Not a fan. Oh wait, I have a drop for that too, don't I? Here you go, Matt. This is for you.
Not a fan.
I'm not a fan.
So
I gotta amp the volume on that.
Did you find what my other F of the year was?
Oh, I'm disappointed it didn't jump right out of your head. Madam Web.
Oh, yeah. Now that is an atrocious movie. That is absolutely atrocious.
We're not fans of Rebel Moon 2 or Imaginary.
You know what? I would watch this again before I'd watch any of those again. If I was
Agreed.
Sit down with 4 movies and I had to pick one, it would be this one.
Agreed. Why is it so difficult? What's the issue, you think, with this?
I think I almost felt like
I should say the character. Like, what is it that we can't seem to kind of capture this properly?
Well,
or did we barely? And then we just, I don't know.
I think the problem is that I almost want to pull down my old 90s graphic novel of The Crow and reread it, because I haven't read it in a long, long time. But I think, as you explained with James O'Barr and him kind of using this as an outlet for his grief, the grief permeates that comic book, right? And it is a very heavy, not really fun read. So it's kind of hard to make a movie about that. And he basically wrote it, and then that was it. Like, it's not like there's a long backstory, a lot of lore with the Crow. It's essentially, unlike most comic book movies, it's very contained and it's as it exists as a comic, right? So it's hard to kind of develop a franchise off of that because there's so little lore to base it off of.
Yeah. So I love this too. So they've been trying to make this film since 2008. Mm-hmm. Stephen Norrington was part of it at one point. Bradley Cooper was in talks to play the lead.
Oh, wow.
Then Mark Wahlberg, Channing Tatum, potentially Ryan Gosling, James McAvoy. Everything kept falling through. Atticus Ross at one point was going to provide the music.
Oh, wow.
Which I would have loved. But it's just, yeah, I don't know. I had C-, Matt. I think I got to drop it down to a D+.
Yeah, I'm going to give this, I think, a D, a straight D. I don't know if it's the worst film I've ever seen. It's not the worst film of the year, as we just rattled off 3 other ones that I think are demonstrably worse, but it's not good. Not good.
Sorry, gang. I know you're Crow fans. I really thought we were going to, spark or ignite a new goth revolution, but not this time.
So, Chris, before we move off of this topic and move on to the next one, I believe we both went over on our Price is Right game. So I'm still 1-0 because this one doesn't count for either one of us.
Wait, no, I won last week. Why are you still? Were you trying?
No,
to...
that's what I mean. I meant you're
right,
1-0.
You're trying to gaslight me.
No. I'm saying that I'm down 1-0. So but we have no second film so far.
Yeah, no, not yet. I'll update maybe too. Probably not this week because of the time crunch for me, but maybe the following week I'll insert a new like highlighted, colored in thing for the notes on the show, so you can check it out. At least on the website, it'll be there. So there you go. All right, well, good. I guess this is good for me. A non-win for you is a win for me.
And this type of game it is. You might as well have bet $1, right? You know?
Yeah. Oh, that's what I should have done. I should have said it's got a 1% on Rotten Tomatoes. You've had a chance to see The Crow, currently playing in theaters near you. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Matt, let's talk about what's coming up on physical media this upcoming Tuesday. We're in September 3rd. This is another film that I have never owned on physical media. And I know it's a heartwarming family classic. I probably have not seen it since it came out. I did watch the show, which I thought was pretty good. Mm-hmm. But I have not seen this in a very, very, very long time.
I'd like to lead you all in a little prayer. Come on.
Prayer?
What? Come on.
Oh,
yes, a little prayer. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Okay, good. Lord, hallowed be thy name. May our feet be swift. May our bats be mighty. And may our balls be plentiful. And Lord, I just like to thank you for that waitress in South Bend. You know who she is. She kept calling your name. And God, these are good girls, and they work hard. Just help them see it all the way through. Okay, that's it. Let's go.
Amen. Okay. Go Peaches!
Go Peaches, Matt. A League of Their Own is being released on physical media this upcoming Tuesday. When did I say it was? September 3rd? September 3rd sound good? Was it the 2nd? We'll go with the 3rd. It was the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that also is your...
That's a number 2.
That's your number 2 for this week, A League of Their Own. Coming in at number, how do they say in Germany? Cinque?
Number 5?
It's going to be Kino Lorber putting out Chains of Gold, featuring John Travolta as Scott Barnes. He's an alcoholic turned social worker, hell-bent on saving a young boy named Tommy, played by, Joey Lawrence, from a self-destructing when he finds out he's been selling crack in an organization called Yip, run by Carlos, played by Benjamin Bratt. So you can pick that up. And then number 4? Shout Factor's putting out Linoleum, featuring Jim Gaffigan and Rhea Seehorn. The host of a failing children's science TV show, Matt attempts to fulfill his childhood dream of being an astronaut by building a rocket ship in his garage, all while trying to make sense of the surreal events around him. Number 3? Why am I saying it?
I got 3 shots. That's enough.
I have clips for numbers. Why am I saying
Can't argue with a confident man.
3? What's the point of this? Sandpiper is putting out the previously out-of-print Lord of Illusions on Blu-ray. This is the Clive Barker film, right? With Scott Bakula, who plays, what's his name? Something like Harry Moon or Harry
D'Amour.
Harry D'Amour, there you go. I wanted to do a comic book adaptation of that character. Like, I love the idea of a supernatural detective. You
know, he's one of Clive Barker's few recurring characters, and he is in the final Hellraiser novel, which is atrocious, by the way. But him and Pinhead have a tete-a-tete in that book.
Ooh, interesting. So, yeah, I don't know about the special features, but if you want to get your hands on Lord of Illusions and you have not been able to, because they said that Scream Factory disc has been out of print for a while, now you can. We talked about the number 2.
That's a number 2.
That's a number 2. League of Their Own. Featured 4K resolution, Dolby Vision, restored from the original camera negative. The Blu-ray comes with a commentary, deleted scenes, documentary, 3 episodes of the 1993 TV series League of Their Own, which I didn't even know existed. And then number 1, let's go with number 1, right?
There can be only one.
a film that I had always heard cool things about. I blind bought it on a Criterion Barnes & Noble sale, Matt, and I never regretted it because it is awesome. Being released now in 4K from Criterion, Repo Man. Brand new 4K restoration approved by Alex Cox, audio commentary featuring Cox and others, deleted scenes, and more. This also includes the cleaned up TV version of the film as well. Matt, are you a Repo Man fan? Have you ever seen it?
I have not seen it, actually.
It is fantastic.
Okay.
And you should definitely check it out. Also being released in 4K, Scream Factory is putting out a couple things. The Boy, which is, I think, that haunted doll film from a few years ago. I never saw it. I don't know if it's any good. Brand new 4K presentation on that, new audio commentary, and a bunch of new interviews. And also the Amityville Horror remake, the one featuring Ryan Reynolds, being released in 4K from Scream Factory. I remember not being a big fan of that remake, but I will say it is a light years better than the original. That film is dull and boring, and it is just really bad. Though I do have a weird appreciation for the second one by Tommy Lee Edwards. I think, Matt, I ripped my old Blu-ray and I sent it to you. I don't know if you ever had a chance to check it out.
I did.
But it is a weird little film.
It is.
But still, weird and good. Your Viper Video pick of the week, go ahead to vipervideotampa.com and you might be able to order these. Now, I'm not sure. You may have to do some of your own research. This may actually be a Region B. I got a note from one of our interns, like right before we started recording about this. But the Substitute Collection being released on Blu-ray, all 4 films. This is some great straight-to-DVD action from the 90s. The first one featuring Tom Berenger. I think the next couple featuring Treat Williams. But I remember many a times being homesick from school or whatever, and then watching this on HBO or something. So I'm a big fan of the Substitute films, and you might be able to pick those up on Blu-ray. Matt, what should we be streaming this week?
So, full disclosure, I have not seen this film yet, but I just found out while I was searching to see what was out on streaming for this segment. A Quiet Place Day 1 is available on Paramount Plus, so I will be getting on there to check it out. I hear it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's by the guy who did Pig, right? Which I didn't even realize.
Yeah, it is.
I do love my precious pig. This is getting weird. Matt, let's go ahead and keep moving and spend a few minutes and talk about the surprise indie darling taking the internet worlds by storm, Strange Darling. Oh, Darling. I didn't even realize.
This is the story of the most prolific serial killer of the 21st century.
That's it. That's all I'm going to play for you. The less you know going into this, the better you're going to be. That's Jason Patrick doing the narration, by the way. I did not realize that. So, Matt, Strange Darling, we open up with the classic horror trope of the final girl running down from somewhere, running down the street, running down a hill, whatever it may be. And then we shift. And we have 6 chapters, Matt, that comprise this film. They play out non-linearly. They're not in order. I think is probably an easier way to say it. And information is given to us as things progress, and we are basically kept, I don't know about you, but kept on the edge of our seats, on our toes, wondering what's happening until we finally figure everything out, and then everything goes even crazier at that point, Matt. Strange Darling, is it hampered by its conceit? Is it too clever for its own good? What do you think?
So I will say this. I mean, I was thinking about how we're going to talk about this film because this is one of those films where the less you know about it, the better. And I don't want to risk, giving too much away. However, I feel like I have to at least say this.
Okay.
I was not surprised by the twist. I mean, I saw the trailer. I basically sussed out, having seen however many thousands of movies in my life, read however many hundreds of books, months of TV shows that I've watched, it's not anything earth-shattering as far as a twist goes. But I will say this.
But
it's very well done. It is very tense. It is suspenseful. It's the way everything kind of plays out. The specifics of the twists and kind of what you do and don't see is a lot of fun. It plays on some other expectations that, are used throughout the whole thing as far as obtaining advantages and letting your guard down and things like that. So it's all Very cleverly well done. It's well paced. It's a hell of a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, but I will say, if anybody says that they were blown away by the twist, that's somebody who has not seen a lot of movies.
Well, I don't know if you're going to be blown away by the twist, but I think what it is why it's so successful is that the director, he also wrote it, J.T. Molnar, is that he just delightfully kind of plays with your expectations throughout the whole thing. And for me, I did not know definitively where we were going to end up. At one point, I thought I did. And then another point, I thought, oh, maybe then it's a... And then I thought, well, maybe no, it's a... All right, well, maybe it's a... Right? And then eventually we get our final reveal, and I'm like, okay. Yeah, I mean, it had to be one of these kind of three things. And I think that the execution of the film is so well done, it's fine. I mean, it's not like, one of the characters is revealed. Well, I don't know. Should I say anything? Because anything could be, even if it's not true, but, I don't know. Regardless, it knows what it's doing, and it does it very well, right? I think Molnar does a great job just by establishing the film with that classic trope of the final girl running, is that he's now established our baseline, right? And now he can intentionally mess with us over the following 90 minutes. And I will say, too, that I think our leads, Willa Fitzgerald and Kyle Gallner, can I say, Matt, are they electric? Anyway. Matt likes a good pun.
I do.
So, well, I didn't realize Willa was in Reacher. She played the sheriff in that first season. And I'm like, why do I know her? But she doesn't look anything like that. She was Roscoe Conklin in that film. And she's been in some other stuff, too. And they also have a Scream connection.
Okay.
So he was in the requel, and she was one of the leads on the TV show.
Okay.
Which is fun.
Interesting.
And I like Gallner, too. I didn't realize, too, him I've seen in a bunch of things. He was in that Nightmare on Elm Street reboot, which may or may not be coming up. There is also, he was in Smile, which we saw, was that 2 years ago now at this point that film came out? I'm digging his little mustache, little goatee thing he's rocking there. I think good for him. It's a good... he wears kind of that rednecky kind of, I'll mess you up kind of look, I think, relatively well. So good for him. And I think it works. I think for me, it totally works. I think that editing in this film, too, is a bit of a tightrope because you have to cut this thing together almost perfectly to maintain not just the construction of the film, but also its pacing. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really good at that. Congrats to Giovanni Ribisi. This is the first film he's lensed. Mm-hmm. He is a producer, and he shot it as well. And fantastic job there, though I'm fairly confident most motel rooms do not have red lights in their bathrooms. Maybe the ones Matt's go to do.
I think, wasn't it supposed to be like a heat lamp? That's what I figured it was.
Is that what that was your? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that was my thought.
I thought that was kind of weird. It's a movie. It's more for mood. Fine.
Right.
I'll cut you some slack. And also too that the family in the cabin having possibly the unhealthiest breakfast I have ever seen in my entire life.
Revolting. It was just revolting.
Possibly one of the most disturbing things in the entire film. Mm-hmm. No, but yeah. It works. And again, I don't want to talk any more about it because you should definitely check it out, Matt. I'm giving Strange Darling an A-.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give it a B+. I had a good time. I thought it was very well done. And it's one thing that, it's a darling that I can see myself picking up at some point in the near future.
Wow, that is high praise from Matt if he's willing to purchase it in physical media at some point.
That's right.
Strange Darling is playing in a theater near you. Please check it out. And shoot us an email, feedback@thefirstrun.com. We'd love to hear from you. As always, I'm keen to see what Molnar does next. I think this is his debut feature as well. So let's see here. Short films, feature films. Oh, nope. He did something called Outlaws and Angels from 2016.
Okay.
So there you go. All right, Matt, let's close up shop, at least for this week, and spend a few minutes talking about, I don't want to say our 5 favorite worst reboots, just the worst reboots that kind of just popped into our heads. So enjoy that.
Hi, Chris.
Who are you?
You look just as beautiful as ever. You have nothing to worry about. This won't hurt. One little
respect.
Say what you will, Matt, about the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot from 2010.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy.
He was very menacing, that's for sure.
I like my Freddy to actually be scary
Mm-hmm.
and not like a drinking buddy who slashes some teens and cracks some jokes.
Right.
That first Nightmare film, which I don't know if you've seen, Matt. I think we talked about it. We did, because I talked about the Steelbook being released in 4K, I think in about a month.
Mm-hmm.
So you may want to check that out. But didn't make the cut for me, Matt, because again, I like Haley in that film.
Okay.
I think I dread almost every other thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
I love, too, the fact that Rooney Mara was one of her first roles, and she got cast in it and then immediately started disparaging it because she was so upset she got the role.
Yeah.
So, screw you, Mara. That bothers me. Katie Cassidy at one point, too, making a run at being a Scream Queen. She ended up on Arrow for those, 9-10 seasons. So, and of course, our buddy, Kyle Gallner from, what's there? Strange Darling is in that as well.
All right.
So, it didn't make the cut, Matt. I'll go first. We'll give you the ultimate number one. And here's where I struggled with this. Because, and I should say, too, in regards to Nightmare on Elm Street, I think maybe Platinum Dunes should be legally barred from rebooting any horror franchises. The Friday the 13th movie has its charms, yeah, but that's about it, I think. Where are we? All right, so my 5, I feel like any of my honorable mentions I could swap in for this 5, but I think I'm going to go with Gil Keenan's Poltergeist from 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of my frustration with it is that it's produced by the Evil Dead folks. Sam Raimi and Rob Tappert are part of this. It features Sam Rockwell and Rosemary DeWitt, Jared Harris, and it is interminably boring and uninspired, not scary, and it's just... I wanted the ghosts to come take me away into the TV world. I was so just... Part of the problem, too, is you're making a stone cold classic, right? We're making it. Same thing I could say... Now, I would say the 2006 Wicker Man probably would have been my 5, because the original is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I have not seen the Cage Wicker Man.
Yeah.
With all of its bees.
Yeah.
It has not happened. So, but for me, if you're going to take a shot at one of the kings, you best not miss. And baby, you missed big time.
Yeah.
So Poltergeist 2015 is my 5.
Yeah, it was an honorable mention for me. It is again, like Chris said, it is a tall order to go after Tobe Hooper / in reality Steven Spielberg on a remake. So that's balls.
Careful. That is I guess not true.
What?
There's rumors that Spielberg actually directed Poltergeist.
I'm not saying he directed it, but he obviously had some input as a producer, right? I mean, his...
Sure,
yeah. So
it does have his vibe to it.
Yeah.
That was just a long-running rumor. I think I even may have espoused it at some point in the past, that Spielberg actually directed Poltergeist, but it's not true.
All right. Well, my number 5, then, is a remake by a filmmaker who was once a rock star, who basically missed the point completely of the original, and that is Rob Zombie's 2007 version of Halloween, which I really do not like. Now, it is much meaner, it is much nastier, much more akin to torture porn, whereas John Carpenter's kind of text of slashers, original, Michael Myers is, the Shape. He's a force that just kind of is unstoppable. Whereas this, he's a man. I mean, he's an insane man, and they give you all of the kinds of backstory, which I think is completely unnecessary and kind of lessens Michael Myers as a villain in the, hopes of giving you something that's really graphic and violent, and there's just not enough there to carry it. And when you don't care if any of the babysitters get killed at all, I mean, what else is there really?
Yeah, I think the second one's even worse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's even meaner.
Yeah.
And I remember walking out of the screening of that film, and I was like, why would I ever want to watch something like this ever again?
Mm-hmm.
It's just, there's nothing in it, I think, of any really kind of redeeming cinematic or artistic value, which is funny because I bought the Walmart steelbook of both director's cuts versions of both films because I have not seen it since the theaters.
Okay.
And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll retry them. So I'm going to do that, Matt. I'm going to, for the month of October at some point, I will rewatch both of those.
Okay.
The unrated director's cuts, and I'll come back to you, and I'll let you know if was I wrong or did I just blow I think I got a really good deal on it too, like $18 on this. Because those unrated cuts too, I think on Blu-ray are very difficult to come by.
Okay.
So I think that may have been part of my reasoning is like, well, if I ever want to see them again, I don't know if I can because you can't they're not available digitally.
Right.
Just the theatricals. Where are we? Okay. Speaking about offensive, one of our story directors, one of our living legends, right, remade one of my favorite films. I think one of the films that got me into watching movies, and it's bizarre, Matt. I still don't understand how this happened. Why was it just a work for hire? But 2013, Spike Lee directs Old Boy, featuring Josh Brolin.
Mm-hmm.
And the pathos, the depression, everything that was so wonderful, and also too, in a weird way, the beauty of the film, the way it looked, but then the madness and violence, everything about it is just everything here. It's just bad. And this does feature Sharlto Copley. You'd think I'd be all in on it. But it just doesn't work in any capacity. I'm not sure what it is. I've never really been kind of figured out for myself. It's just bad. Mm-hmm. Everything just misfires. But that's my 4, Spike Lee's Old Boy.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I felt that it had its mere existence was completely unnecessary, so I just never bothered to see it, even out of a sense of curiosity.
Yeah, Park Chan-wook's film is one of my favorites. I had hunted it down for Blu-ray for the longest time, and then I think it came out in 4K, and I almost imported it a couple times, and then finally, I think it's neon rated, put out a gorgeous set of it, which I bought, and of course I haven't watched it, but I will at some point, because I do love the film so much. It's just been so long. But yeah, that is just... I cannot understand what happened there. What went so very, very wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just some things aren't made to be remade. I still need to get my hands on Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and Lady Vengeance too. I just have them on DVD. I don't even have them on Blu-ray. What do you got, Matt?
All right, so number 4 is a cheat, as I am wont to do, because not only has this film one of my favorite all-time horror films from the 70s, it has so many bad sequels and remakes, but it has two terrible remakes. The first is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 2003, starring Jessica Biel. Again, completely unnecessary. Also, it's in the same vein of the Rob Zombie flick. It's much meaner, but at the same time, it's more rote. It seems like a very more typical slasher that you would see from the early 2000s. Kind of misses the point completely on Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And then, of course, what do? They go and do it again in 2022 that we watched for the show. And it was trying to, I guess, modernize it for some reason, with influencers being the source of Leatherface's wrath. But
and Leatherface is like 70.
Yeah, right.
65 or something.
Yeah, it is, again, not good at all. So just by the sheer fact that they tried to remake this not once but twice and failed so miserably both times, it had to be my number 4.
Yeah, and 2, one of the things that always jumps out at me about the sequel to the first Platinum Dunes reboot, the one with Alexandra Daddario, is that all you remember in that film is her.
Right.
Like it's almost, and I'm not sure what it is, but that film it's just her like in a cutoff shirt running around for like 85 minutes. That's all it is. And it's like, all right, the director's like, all right, I know what I got. I got the Dario.
Right.
Let's frame her every single time. Let's make those blue eyes pop, and then let everything else doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It's like a film made by a guy who has a crush on the actress. It's, I always think of when I think of that.
You know what? Or like you said, he just knew exactly what he got. He's like, let's give some cleavage, some little bit of skin implied, and that's all you really need.
Yeah, exactly. So my number 3 then is, I remember being kind of excited for this. All right, the granted it's got Mark Wahlberg, but Tim Roth is in it, Helena Bonham Carter, Michael Clark Duncan, Chris Christopherson is still Paul Giamatti. You got Bart Ball in there, and it's Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes from 2001. What if I had to like show you if you said to me, Chris, give me an example of a slog of a motion picture, I would just hold up a copy of Planet of the Apes from 2001 and show it to you. That, for me, it was was that the beginning of the end, maybe, for me, for Tim Burton as a... Because Big Fish, for me, was like the last film that he did that I thought was really good. No, Big Fish was 2 years later.
Okay.
But Planet of the Apes, especially coming off of Sleepy Hollow and Mars Attacks, Batman Returns, Ed Wood, still, I think, his best film. But, man, that... I've always said Wahlberg is a director's actor, and if you don't know how to work with him, it's going to be a disaster. See The Happening,
right?
And it's the same thing here. And even in the end of the film, still doesn't make any sense, right? So where he escapes and crash lands, and it's there, but it's different. I still don't understand. So it's just bad. So his Planet of the Apes from 2001 is my 3.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that movie. So good pick.
Good for you.
Yeah, that might have been pretty close on the list because that is a bad film. But speaking of bad films, is the 2008 in 2008 our friend Keanu had his star had waned a little bit. This is post Matrix, pre John Wick, and he's in his normal genre fare, but he's obviously plays a very wooden visitor from another planet in the kind of remake of the 50s, 60s, nuclear panic film, The Day the Earth Stood Still. And it's just... So the original is much more about an allegory of man's impending, need or tendency to destroy itself, and how these aliens are going to intervene and see if we're worthy of being a part of this galactic, neighborhood or whatever. And what's there instead is much more with this new version of a typical sci-fi badly aged CGI adventure kind of thing, whereas Keanu Reeves' character is much more menacing, and the robot and all that stuff. It's just dull, and I think it's just a really piss poor representation of what they could have done in an update with that film.
Yeah, see, I had forgotten all about that. So, that was really... I remember, how boring that film was and how disappointed I was. So, that's a good pick. So, my number 2 then, they have tried, Matt, to reset this franchise I don't know how many times. And I don't know why they can't seem to get it right. I don't really think that the first or the second film, since there's 2 of them, are lightning in a bottle. The third film is actually okay too. Not up to the snuff of the first 2, but still. But Terminator Genisys from 2015 just blows up the entire point of the franchise by turning John Connor into one of the evil Terminators. And it is... Emilia Clarke takes over as as I want to say Sarah, but I know I'm thinking of Sarah Connor. Duh, gee whiz, Chris. I had Hamilton in my head. Sarah Hamilton, Linda Hamilton. But anyway, so she's not great, and of course it features Jay Courtney. Good God, as Kyle Reese, and Jay Courtney for me, I don't know why he was like the male lead equivalent of Fetch, where Hollywood was desperate to make Jay Courtney work for years, and it just didn't shake out. Though I will say, out of everything Zack Snyder and the DCEU did, him as Boomerang was actually pretty entertaining. But to misunderstand that, I guess you want to try and do something different. I don't know. But to make Connor the evil Terminator is just so misguided and so upsetting. It's stupid. It was just a dumb decision, and it taints the entire film for me. Even Arnold returning is not enough. So Terminator Genesis is my 2.
Yeah, that one is also pretty terrible. Completely missing entire point of that series, but yeah, good pick. All right, so then my number 2 then is Chris and I are record as being on fans of the lovable giant lizard in all of his different forms, Godzilla or Gojira if you're nasty. Well, in 1998, they decided that they were going to reboot this franchise, bring it up to the modern age, give it a fancy CGI spectacle, Americanized version of it, and get the guy who did Independence Day to direct it. And the version of Godzilla we got in 1998, where essentially it's a giant dinosaur. None of the kind of fire breathing or allegory towards what we're doing to the environment. All of that is jettisoned for it to instead just to add Matthew Broderick and a bunch of French special forces guys into this film. And it was just, I think, one of the earliest examples that I can think of where I was just absolutely dumbfoundedly disappointed by a film. And I remember this being called Godzilla in name only by many of the fanboys that I circulated with at the time.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even look like Godzilla. Mm-hmm. It is, that's another bad one. Ugh, horrible. So my number 1 then, Matt, probably out of the last 10 years, has it been? No, it's been longer. Good Lord, how long have we been doing this show? Dear God, that's depressing. 2012. Mm-hmm. One of the few films that we ever covered for the show that made me angry. Like, I was mad. I added one particular actor. His name, maybe he's a wonderful guy in real life. I don't know. But Josh Peck in The Red Dawn, the remake from 2012, is so mind-numbingly bad. And it's that, remember we talked a little bit earlier about how that The Crow isn't like offensively bad?
Yeah.
Well, the Red Dawn reboot featuring Thor, featuring Chris Hemsworth is. I mean, this is a film that sat on the shelf for years because I think the studio went under, and they eventually just kind of released it. But I have like a visceral reaction to Josh Peck in this film, where every time he was on screen, I wanted him to get stuffed in a locker, if not worse. And the whole film is like that too, but particularly him. So, yeah, out of all these reboots, and even my honorable mentions too, this is the only film that makes me actually like angry, because it's just offensively bad, and mostly because of Peck, which I'm sure maybe he's a wonderful human being. I don't know, but that's my 1.
Yeah, that Red Dawn film is atrocious. I don't know if I was on the show at that time, but I have caught it in bits and pieces, unfortunately many times since then on weekend TV, and it is bad. But I think my number 1 then is one of the great whys. Why would you even attempt to try and remake this film?
Matt, Josh Peck is like a black hole of charisma. I mean, it is... He sucks all the joy out of every scene he is in. You just want to punch him in the face. It's just... See, I'm getting all upset again now. And what it is, I have it open the Wikipedia, and I clicked on it. I'm hovering over his bio, and his face popped up, and I'm like, oh God, I hate that guy. I hate him in that movie, I should say. All right, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just saw it again, and it just triggered me all over again.
Fair enough. So, yeah, my number 1 then is Gus Van Sant's 1998 remake of Psycho.
Oh, come on. Number 1?
Yes! Completely, absolutely unnecessary film. It is a shot-for-shot remake of a film that is, again, one of the great, suspense thrillers ever made, right? And it's iconic in its construction. It has all of these things that have just become just a part of the very fabric of cinema's language, and you have somebody come along and kind of just ape all of it. And it's all of it is just, when you compare it so easily, because it is shot for shot to the original, it just is doomed to failure. And I guess in Chris's reaction, he's going to say it's some kind of interesting experiment or something, but I just have to disagree with him. I think it is completely unnecessary, and just by the sheer fact that it's holding up a mirror to something that's so much better than it is really illustrates its shortcomings.
Yeah, that's what it is. It is an interesting art experiment. It's an experiment in art. Is it successful? Probably not. But it doesn't make me angry like Josh Peck does. No, it's fine. It's neither here nor there. It doesn't bother me.
Right, but I mean, part of it is that Red Dawn, the remake, sucks, but the original Red Dawn is not particularly good either. It's very 80s and cheesy, whereas it's like taking the Red Shoes and doing a shot-for-shot remake in like, English or something with Vince Vaughn and Anne Heche, right? I mean, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Wolverines. Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know. It's just like, it doesn't bother me. That's all. It just doesn't make me angry. And I love Psycho. In fact, I had it on the other day while I was doing dishes. Yeah, well, all right. Honorable mentions, Matt?
Oh, so many. The 2017 Flatliners, but didn't make the list because the first movie is not very good either. The 2005 version of The Fog. 2019 remake of Jacob's Ladder. 2015 Martyrs. And then the 1-2 punch against our boy, Total Recall from 2012 and RoboCop from 2014 is just god awful.
So, minus Recall and Robo, I have not seen any of those other films, any of those, the ones you mentioned.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. I can make an argument that RoboCop 2014 is enjoyable if you have no prior memory of the other films existing. Like, if there's the first time you've ever heard of or seen RoboCop,
all right,
I think it's enjoyable enough.
Right, okay.
But, yeah, for the rest. I also have Fantastic Four from 2015. The Mummy, the original chance to launch the Dark Universe with Tom Cruise from 2017. And then I'm just going to say, this is a film I think I defended in the past, but I think I'm over it now. And it has one good scene, and it's 2 hour and like 23-minute runtime. It has one good scene where he stops the plane from crashing, and that's Superman Returns. The rest of it is a snoozer.
It is. It is a big snoozer. But that and all-time S-tier trailer with the Marlon Brando voice and the John Williams score, that is chef's kiss. It is such a good trailer.
It's one of my favorites. In fact, I think years ago we talked about like our favorite trailers. I think that was my number one. Or maybe it was like top 5 letdowns from trailers. That would have been number one.
Sure.
As well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that trailer was, man, I can't remember the last time I was so stoked for a film after watching that. Being the Superman geek that I am with that. Yeah, wow. I'm like, somebody gets it. Somebody gets it. This is going to be good. And instead it's... All right. What's the worst reboot you've seen? Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. We'd love to hear from you. Matt, what's up next week on the big show? I'm not sold. I don't know. I know there's 2 films listed there. I just threw it on there because we don't have to, because one of them's a Peacock original.
Okay.
It's actually supposedly better than we thought it was going to be.
Okay. One is a film called Afraid, and the other is called The Killer.
Yeah, so Afraid is that AI horror film, I think, that I saw one trailer for just this past week.
Right, okay.
And then, of course, The Killer is John Woo's remake of his film, though I think, I understand, it does diverge from the original. I don't know. We'll see. We may not do that. We'll see. I thought Matt might be interested in seeing that, and I know I wanted to check it out too. So,
well, seems low effort to try and see it if we can stream it, so maybe we'll stick it in there.
There you go. In the meantime, you can check us out at thefirstrun.com. You can find archives of all the old shows, the report card. It's a little mini player. Just hit play, and then it'll start just playing shows for you and more. Head on over to, what else? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Do a search for The First Run. Scroll. Eventually you'll find us. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a review. It'll help other people find the show, and we appreciate it. So that's going to be that. We're going to take an extended break. We love you all very much. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
You know, kid, usually when somebody pulls shit like that, my first reaction is, I want to punch his fucking lights out. But you know something? You're all